Good morning and welcome to Coffee with the Mayor and City Manager. Today is Friday, June 6th. We're so glad to have everyone here. You have just me, though, just the mayor today. City Manager Jess Knutson is traveling today, so he can't join us, but we do have a really special edition today. We're going to be joined by our friends from Republic Services, and they'll talk trash with us for a few minutes. And then when we're done talking trash, then we will invite Jeff Tuneman, our Development Services Director, and Gabby Vera, our Parks and Recreation Director, and we will have some discussions about their programs within their departments and their teams. And we'll talk some things about the budget, because the budget's coming up. And then, of course, we'll turn it over to any questions that any of you may have about anything that we cover this morning or anything else that might be on your mind. So, again, welcome, and thank you for joining us this morning. We'll go ahead and get started with Republic Services. We'll welcome Jay Markle and Chris Klein from Republic Services to come join us. Hello?
Well, good morning. My name is Jay Markle. I'm with Republic Services, General Manager, and this is Chris Klein. He's our Operations Manager. I'm not new to the industry and I'm not new to the area, but I am new to Republic Services as a General Manager in the area. So my children grew up here actually from about junior high on, and they're still here, and they are in their mid-20s to late 20s now. So I've been coming down here since about 2009, 4 or 5 times a year for a week at a time plus. And of course, Chris grew up in the area, but when they said, hey, do you want coffee with the mayor? We said, we never, ever, never, ever, never turn down coffee. So we are here 100%, and it's a great time to meet you folks. That's the most important part. So I'll let Chris introduce himself as well, and here you go.
Thank you. Cal's a tough act to follow, so we'll do our best here. I've been with Republic Services for 7 years. I started as a driver, kind of moved up through the ranks. I've been the operations manager here for just on 3 years. We do a really good business with Lake Havasu. Partnering with this community is one of the best, most rewarding things we could possibly do. It's one of the best communities in the country as far as I'm concerned. So real quick before we get into everybody's questions, because that tends to be what these end up being, recycling in Lake Havasu City. We take about 50 tons a day to our processing facility in Las Vegas. I've got 3 trucks that do that exclusively. That's their job. So the recycling doesn't go to the landfill, contrary to what people might think.
Yeah, so when it comes to recycling, which is one of the things that we want to talk about and get your questions about, but we have rumors that go out there that say that we don't recycle and that we just put it into the light blue lid bin, and then we just throw it in the landfill and we go on our way. Nothing could be further from the truth. And so whether you like recycling or don't like recycling, I think you might like money, so please recycle. And the reason why is when it comes to Lake Havasu City, if you don't recycle those items, they will truly go in the landfill. You'll throw it into the trash, and then the landfill will fill up at a faster pace. And when it fills up, then we, as ratepayers or taxpayers, have to find some new solution for the landfill. But of course, it's also the right thing to do. So the recycling facility that Republic Services uses when they truck that 50 tons of recycling up to Las Vegas, it's a state-of-the-art system where it's thrown on. And I don't know, maybe if you guys want to talk about that system and what that looks like, that'd be great. Yeah.
And I wanted to mention also real quick, you know, I've been with Republic, it was BFI to Allied to Republic since a long time, close to 31 years actually. And every single year, I can speak to this for knowledge, is that Lake Havasu comes up in the top of the metrics, in the top of the customer service, in the top of just about everything that we base the success of our company on. Lake Havasu is never out of the top 3. So, you know, these guys should be really proud of that, and you guys should be really proud of that as a community. Lake Havasu really just steps up to the plate as a community and as a company. So very exciting for that, to hear that all the time.
So about recycling, so the way that it works for us here, we do what's called single stream. So everything goes into the one bin with the blue lid, right? That gets compacted in our facility. We have a material recovery facility on site at 2011 College Drive. That then goes to our gallon facility in Vegas, where it's hand sorted by people. People take it off of a conveyor belt and put it into different locations so it can be processed. Paper goes to paper, cardboard to cardboard, glass to glass, and then plastics get kind of set aside because there's a little bit of something different we do with plastics. We've opened a few polymer centers across the country, one of those being in Las Vegas. That then gets sorted to that facility where those plastic bottles get converted and turned back into reusable commodities for plastic bottles and sunglasses, and all sorts of other stuff. So we're trying to get better with our footprint, and part of that is working with people like you to make sure that we're putting the right things in those bins so they're being handled properly and then disposed of when they need to be.
So it's been really a fantastic program since we introduced this recycling program. We initially thought that our landfill had about 7 or so years left, and I think the most recent studies was about 30 years left, just on the extension of the landfill in its current spot. So it really has been quite fantastic. But the one thing is that if we contaminate a load, it's contaminated in its entirety. So what does that mean? So at my house, if I were to put in something that should be trash in the recycling bin, and I decide to put it in the recycling bin by mistake or just being careless or whatnot, that then goes into the truck. And then they go into my neighbor, and they take the neighbors, which did the right thing. Everything was right. That goes in the truck. My next neighbor, that goes in the truck. But the entire load is contaminated because of my one mistake. Does that make sense? So it's not just by the home, it's by the route, if you will. So that whole truckload is going to be contaminated. So when in doubt, do throw it out. But there is really great instructions on the lid of what can and cannot be recycled. And we do have some folks that are throwing some pretty hazardous things into the system, which we don't want that either. So we do have hazardous household waste days, and with our partnership with Republic, we've really gotten it down to a science, if you will. The first time we did it several years ago, we had lines just backed up and traffic problems, and we didn't have enough capacity to take all of the stuff. We've been able to solve that. We've been able to extend it from 1 day a year to 2 days a year. So really great things there. So if you have some hazardous waste, hold that until the hazardous household waste days. And then also we have a bulky pickup. So if you have big, large items that you don't know what to do with, the place to put them is not the desert. It is not to create a shooting target in the desert. It's not anything other than to call Republic Services, and they will come and pick up your bulky items when on the schedule that is determined. But they will pick those up for you. So please do not throw those things out into the desert. Make sure that you call Republic Services, and they will do that. If you happen to live outside of the Lake Havasu city limits, take it to the landfill. So you can take it to the landfill. That's where it belongs. It does not belong in our outdoor recreational areas. We have that built in to ensure that we have a clean community and that we're doing the right thing. So please share that information with your neighbors. I don't know, Jay or Chris, if you have any additional things to add, and then we'll take a few questions.
Yes, of course. So one thing I did want to add when you mentioned recycling, right, is a lot of things we don't recycle are lithium batteries. So we wanted to definitely discuss that today. And so lithium batteries, cell phones, little powered cars, the airplanes that are flying out at Sayers Park, all of that stuff have batteries in them. And people think, batteries are recyclable, and they are. But we want to take them to like Home Depot or Staples or somewhere of that nature, and we can get you a list of everywhere that takes them. What they do is they spark in our trucks when we're compacting the trash, and we have truck fires and landfill fires. So just this year, since January 1st, we've had three fires up at the landfill, and they were all the cause of lithium batteries that we were able to show that. We've also had 2 truck fires in Lake Havasu, and yesterday, Chris actually has some great pictures on his phone, we had a truck fire in Bullhead that was the cause of a lithium battery. And these are just tiny little phone batteries, but man, they will burn up a truck, and they will cause problems with the city and us and getting your trash off the ground and your recyclables, because we have to pull that truck off the road. So just because it says recycling, there's a proper way to recycle things sometimes.
So on that subject, we did have a pretty large fire here in Havasu about 3 years ago, and maybe where the taking recycling to the landfill rumor kind of started, because our facility was completely shut down. We had about $100,000 in damage, lost both of our compactors and a truck due to lithium batteries. We actually saw the pile. It was a pile of the e-cigarette vapor batteries that were pushed right out of a load. So for about 3 days, we did have to take recyclables to the landfill for a lack of a better place to put them because of the damage to our equipment. That doesn't happen very often, hasn't happened again in years, but again, could be where the rumor started, because really we were left with no choice. We're kind of an island out here, being hundreds of miles from the nearest recycling facility. So that's what we have to do when things go sideways. So please help us keep Havasu safe.
So when it comes to lithium batteries, those are hazardous household waste day items. So put those in a place and take them to hazardous household waste. Or it's also my understanding that does Home Depot have a depot where you can put some batteries?
Target does too if you guys are in Bullhead and feel like shopping around. So it's a good excuse. I got to go to Target to take my batteries.
Yeah. So if you just can't wait for hazardous household waste day, feel free to take it to Home Depot to their receptacle there. I'm not sure is it at the front door where it might be, but there's a place there. You can ask one of their associates to assist us with that. So, well, great. We'll take a few questions this will be just Republic Service related questions, and then we'll take questions of general nature later in the program. We'll have Councilmember Diaz taking the microphone around. So just raise your hand if you have any questions, and we'll answer those questions for you.
This isn't a question. I was here when Republic first came, and probably all of us were, and I don't know how many years ago that was. But Matt was the one who was the general manager then. He was so terrific. He was giving us his phone number that we could call if we were, and we complain about things. The bins are too heavy, the bins are too little, they're too whatever we complained about. But I think most of us love it now because we just wheel it down and wheel it back, and I love Republic. So I just thought I'd mention that to you, and I'm glad I have your phone number now that I have your name, Jay.
There you go. And Matt's a heck of a good guy.
I saw a hand up over here.
Yeah, Emilio, I believe. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Concerning hazardous waste like oil,
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, but it's not a success. The line is way too long. I mean, I gave up. I tried it twice, and it was hour plus to get a few gallons of oil recycled. And because I had an hour and a half to sit there and wait, I did a head count. There were 4 people handling the hazardous waste, and there were 20 sitting at tables, cruising around in a golf cart. It just 4 to actually do the job, and then 20 just to cruise around. I've given up, and so have my neighbors.
Well, that's unfortunate. I would let you know, though, that we don't have a program yet, but we are working with Peter at the City Fire Department, and we have this great associate that works for us, that worked for the Chamber for a long time, called Nikki Nickel, and a lot of you know Nikki, and she is just a rock star, and they are working on a program that will eliminate a lot of that time, and also have other people there to help do that. Now, if there's people driving around, I'm not aware of that, but we will certainly look into that and address it in the future, for sure.
I think some of those people are volunteers. They don't work for Republic. They're
Correct, yes. They're all volunteers. Even our employees that come out to help are volunteering on their time off work.
I just wanted to say how great you guys are, and the girls at the scale. I've gone up to go dump, yard trash up there, and then they're always, really helpful because you get mixed weird stuff in there, and then they're willing to come out and look in the bed of the truck and whatever and tell you. And then, the thing about the oil, you could just go take that to AutoZone or O'Reilly or whatever, and they do that. And then, I bought a house out here, I guess, a few years ago now. And then I've used that, putting the stuff out front whenever and call. And I don't know, how many pickups I get. I mean, it's really generous. I don't, when I see trash laying around and out in the desert and whatever, I just don't get it because, it's how many pickups do we get?
So on paper, you get 6.
Yeah.
That being said, we're partners with the community, and we understand things happen throughout the year. And as long as we don't see egregious sort of overdoing of that number, if you got 7 or 8 pickups, we're not going to fault you for it. And, we're going to help you pick that stuff up. Now, if you're calling every week and saying, I have a bulky pickup, and, we're 52 weeks into the year, you're probably not going to get another one, but.
Yeah. Well, the website is kind of honky because I looked up when I'm supposed to get pickup, whatever. And then there's a line drawn. So that map is completely wrong and whatever, but nobody's updated it. But I know when it is. And then the other thing, I just put an oven range out, and I didn't even call for pickup. And the guys they just took it.
So I can tell you a little bit about the map, and we will. We actually had purchased a truck to do bulky waste pickup. It's a rear load truck that compacts from the back. Safer way for our guys to take care of the job. As far as the map's concerned, we did reroute, as I'm sure all of you know, about 3 years ago, and some of those lines were not conducive to picking up.
Yeah, it
So we
doesn't-
needed to make some changes, and some of that stuff hasn't quite made it to the map, but as long as you know when your date pickup is, that helps us. And you're correct in our system, so like for any sort of communication for holidays like Christmas, Thanksgiving, and New Year's, those are the only days we actually take off for the record. We don't do the 4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day, any of the other holidays we take and work straight through the week like normal. It's just Christmas, Thanksgiving, and New Year's. We actually work a day delayed, so we'll take that day off to spend with our families, then we work that Saturday to make it up.
Well, no, I've worked in government for decades, so I know, like, if you're just patient and you get to the right person, like the girls up there, they, at the scale, they're like super helpful, you know? Because you're sitting there for a while they're handing you your vest and your hard hat, you know, whatever you got to do. You know, but I knew about Home Depot with the lithium batteries. I knew about, you know, AutoZone with the oil. And then I've seen it like in my own neighborhood, like, because I sort the trash like how it's supposed. I got a yellow tag once, and then I was like, oh man, I got to keep this bin for another week because I put some styrofoam in there, because in Los Angeles, styrofoam's okay. You know, it's always, you know, this, you know, teeter totter, but you know that it's out there, you know. Okay.
Thank you very much.
We got others. You and then here you go.
I recycle in my trash bag and put the trash bag in the recycle bin. Is that a no-no or?
Trash bags are fine, grocery bags are not.
Okay.
Grocery bags you can actually recycle at the grocer, so you can take those to the grocery store. They have a place for
So
those.
putting all my recyclables in a trash bag?
Trash bags are recyclable, yes.
Okay.
You can take a trash bag. We prefer that they're not tied because, again, that's being hand sorted. So what typically happens is on that conveyor belt, someone will grab that bag and turn it upside down onto the conveyor belt. Then they can, you know, sort through it and all that stuff. So untied, but yes, bagged is preferable.
Good morning. A question regarding the number of containers that we're allowed to have. It's my understanding that most of us in the city have one recycle, one trash container. But we see occasionally, today was an example on the way over here. There were, I think, 3 trash containers and a couple of recycle containers at the curb at a place. How does that work? And are there extra charges for that, for rental properties, et cetera?
Yeah, so there are extra charges for an additional can, and we do our best to audit that through the years to make sure everybody's, you know, getting the service that they're paying for. But typically, I believe it's $7 for the extra can, and there's no limit to the number of extra cans you can have.
Yes, good morning. I just want to say I thank you for that question, because I always put my recycles in the trash bag because, hello, windy days, if it's loose, it's going flying everywhere, and I don't understand or
We hate that too, so thank you.
And even though I was told 100 times, that's the wrong way to do it, didn't care. Glad to know, and thank you for that confirmation. But when you're talking about the household waste day pickups, is there any way to make some kind of arrangement where we could just take our household waste to the dump easier instead of having to have you guys struggle with some special day?
Now that's a great question. I wish that we could, but because we're governed by the, you know, environmental compliance, there are certain things that we can't have in a dry landfill, and some of those are wet waste. So, you know, acids, certain pesticides, paint, that's stuff that we just can't. Antifreeze, you know, things like that, batteries, we can't take to the landfill because of our EPA sort of array, the things that we have with ADEQ and the EPA. So unfortunately, no. I wish we could.
I want to thank you for the service that you do for the elderly or people that are disabled, where you go and get the trash cans if it's up on a hill. We did that with my mother. The driveway is so steep that she can't walk down it. She can drive down it, but she can't walk down it. And you guys do an amazing job running up that driveway, grabbing the trash can and bringing it down for her. And I really appreciate that, because she wouldn't be able to do it without it, unless I would have to do it. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Gotta get your steps in.
Councilmember Diaz. We'll take Holly's question, and then we'll, and then a question over here. Oh, comment? Yeah. Yeah, and then one over here, yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you guys that I live on the south side of town by Shemawavy and Saratoga Cross, and my garbage man, I don't know his last name, but his first name is Dan. He is one of the nicest, most helpful people. I mean, I have a bunch of some branches out there, and I come out there to go put them in, and he goes, no, I'll get it. He's just so nice. He really is. And
Dan is incredible.
Yeah, give him a hug for me.
I usually do.
First thing in the morning.
Yeah, we do have to buy him lunch. And when you ask Dan how his day is going, and doesn't matter what day it is, he says it's amazing, and he means it. So Dan's a special guy.
Question with ADOT, are they still doing the cleanup on 95? And will that continue for some time with all of the stuff that gets blown out of people's vehicles?
As far as I know, yes. We're not working super closely with them. We more partner with the cities to take care of stuff like that. And we do work with the race, some Mojave County stuff in the desert. But as far as I know, yes, that's what they're doing.
That's it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jay, for being here, and we appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you for talking trash with us. And if you have any questions, go to the website. Feel free to call the city on trash and those types of things. It was mentioned actually by Ms. Toy about windy days. So please make sure that even on your trash that you bag it, so it's bagged so that you don't have loose trash that's blowing around when the bins are coming up and getting trash around. And I'd also like to thank Republic Services for their help in keeping Highway 95 clean. So their teams go out and do that. So thank you for that partnership. And ADOT still does have a contract. It's a one-year contract currently, and so we're advocating for renewal of that each time. But that just started, so and that's why you notice Highway 95 looks a whole lot better than it used to. Still some work to be done, but much better than it used to. So thank you. All right, we'll now transition and we'll welcome Jeff Tuneman and Gabby Vera. If you want to join me up here, we'll go into a seated arrangement. We'll talk about some city stuff. So yeah. Did you?
I did it.
Perfect. Are you on? Okay, you're going to be on that mic. Perfect. All right. So first, we just want to introduce you to both Jeff and Gabby. So we'll start with Jeff. You want to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about development services?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. Jeff Tuneman, Development Services Director. So just a little bit about me. I moved here in 1979. So I was 2 years old, actually. So came through the rankings, preschool, elementary. I'm a Havasu alumni. Left, went to NAU, got a construction management degree, went to Phoenix, was a project engineer down there. My wife, Jamie, and I, who is from here as well, decided that we would love to come back to the community, raise our family, and I had an opportunity as a plans examiner with the city. So we moved back in 2002. And through the years, I was able to promote to building official and then to the Development Services Director. And starting here in July, I'll be with the city for 23 years. So super excited about that. And Development Services. So Development Services is located in City Hall. We have 20 budgeted positions. It consists of the Planning Division, Building Division, and Code Enforcement. Our building division is managed by our building official, Stephen Blake. Their main functions are plan review, building inspections, and permitting. Our planning division is ran by our planning division manager, Chris Gilbert. And what they do is they administer the development code, take care of the general plan, and they also do things like lot alterations, rezones, lot splits, lot ties, subdivisions, those types of things. And lastly, code enforcement is overseen by Chris Gilbert, our planning division manager, but is led by our senior code enforcement officer, Denise Abel. And their main function is to educate. That's what we see. We get the best compliance through education. So their main focus is education, and then they also are trying to preserve our property values. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Mayor.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, well, thank you for the introduction about development services and the important work that they do for our community. So these are the buildings we walk into. These are the places we go, making sure that they're safe and that they're built to the standards of the code. Obviously, code enforcement is a lot of citizens engage with that. They have issues or those types of things. So really critical areas that our citizens engage with, but these are the faces behind that. So you see maybe an online complaint form or you call, but Jeff and and his team, they're the ones making it happen. So as a fellow Lake Havasu High School alum, Jeff still holds a few records at the high school. You want to tell him about your records, Jeff?
Yeah.
He's like, don't take me there, but
Man.
it's kind of a fun thing.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a long time ago, actually 30 years, but
Well, you still hold the
but I
records.
still hold the records, yeah. So I do have a couple of records. So I have a record for 193 total tackles in one season. So there's that. I have the most tackles in a single game at 27 tackles, and then I hold the single season record for 113 solo tackles. So it's pretty cool. And then I was also the first baseman for the baseball team, and we took the 4A state championship my senior year. So I had a pretty successful
strong program back in
senior
the
year.
90s.
It was pretty awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for
Appreciate
sharing.
that.
And then just this month, your youngest daughter graduated, so your kids went to
Yes.
high school too. So
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Both my children graduated high school, and my wife and I both went to NAU, and both of my children are going to NAU. So pretty proud about that. That's pretty amazing for the four of us to kind of take the same education path. So,
absolutely.
thank you.
Yeah, very nice. All right, Gabby, you want to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about Parks and Recreation?
Of course. Thank you, Mayor. Hello, everyone, and good morning. My name is Gabby Vera. I am the Parks and Recreation Director for Lake Havasu City. I've been in Parks and Recreation for a little over 15 years. Hard to believe at this point. I started my career in Miami-Dade County Parks and Recreation, which is in Miami, Florida, which is actually where I was born and raised. So I was there for almost 9 years working as a recreation manager, worked in a lot of different communities throughout Miami-Dade, working with natural resources, some marinas, a lot of our municipal parks and recreation, so a lot of our facilities, after-school programs, summer camps. Then actually traversed and went to California. That was short-lived. California was not the place for me. So we were only there for a little over 2 years and actually worked for a small community called the City of Menifee, their community services department, which was a great experience. Got to work more so in the senior center capacity, which was really cool. And then decided I actually had family over in Northern Phoenix. And I said, well, I'm going to take my talents to Arizona. I want to see what I can do there. So I actually started working for the City of Phoenix for a few years, almost 3, in the South Phoenix community. Was able to promote, and I actually then started working for the County of Maricopa's Parks and Recreation Department, which is strictly natural resources, not so much municipal rec, after school cares. They didn't really do any of that. We had a lot of open space, over 120,000 acres of parkland. A lot of it patented through BLM, which is the Bureau of Land Management. We had Lake Pleasant, which is also through the BOR, which is the Bureau of Reclamation. And then from there, actually had the fantastic opportunity to come over to the Lake Havasu City community where I've been. It's almost been a year. July 15th will make it a year. As far as my educational background, I have my bachelor's in business administration with a minor in human resource management and my master's degree in parks and recreation. So Parks and Recreation at the core, as far as what we do here, I like to say we're the fun department. Every beautiful park that you all walk and utilize, whether it's for pickleball or your morning walks, taking your dogs to the dog parks, all of those beautiful resources, the Parks and Recreation Department oversees. So we oversee our parks, obviously, and then we also have our aquatics division, which takes care of our aquatic center and our community center. Then we have our admin side, which is more of our, we call them the fun suckers, because they're the ones that are dealing with all the budget and the finances and saying, you can't do that, we need to get contracts in order. And then we also have our recreation department, which handles all of our after-school programs, summer programs. And then if you're on Facebook, I'm sure you've seen a lot of our different programs that we've been rolling out, our little golf programs, our clay programs. We're definitely trying to beef up a lot of what it is that we're offering. So we're really excited, and I think within my time that I've been here, we've been able to build a robust department as far as what we're being able to expose the community to. And I'm just really excited to be here. So thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you for introducing yourself. And Gabby also didn't mention it, but
I wasn't going to.
She is the National Young Professional from the National Recreation and Parks Association. Is it September you're going to go to the conference?
Yeah, so September in Orlando, yep.
Yeah, so, the talent that we have in Lake Havasu City is quite amazing, and Gabby is obviously just one of the many faces that is doing a fantastic job for Parks and Rec. So, these two departments are departments that our citizens interface with on an everyday basis. You might not know that you're interfacing with with these departments, but you are in a variety of different ways. So there's some things that are happening in development services. One is the general plan. That's probably the biggest task on the schedule for this year. Jeff, if you want to talk a little bit about the general plan, I'll give a quick overview of like what the general plan is, and then Jeff can get into some of the details. But the general plan is the overarching document for planning within a community. And every 10 years, we're required to update that. The last update was in 2016. But it's a really intensive, interactive look at about 17 different focus areas within our community, from employment areas and housing areas and where commercial nodes will be, what medical resources, all of the things that make a community vibrant and successful go into this plan. And it's a 30 or 40,000 foot look at that, but it is what kind of guides our development and zoning code when it comes down to it. Lots of citizen engagement, lots of participation, but it then has to be approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission, which is a commission that is appointed by the mayor and city council, and then has to be voted on and approved by the city council. But even more so, it then has to go to the voters in the general election in 2026, November of 2026, for it to be ratified by the voters. So, I mean, it's a really intensive document, and it really guides our planning. But Jeff, you want to talk about the details of how you use it on a daily basis and how folks can get involved, that'd be fantastic.
Sure, yeah. So the general plan it's huge. It's about an 18-month process. So we went out and hired a consultant, Logan Simpson, that the council approved in January to help with the process. So we use the general plan, as the mayor stated, for land uses. So someone comes in and says they would like to rezone a property. The first thing we do is we go to that general plan, which is the community's vision of what we see fit for that area. And we make sure that that complies with what the property owner wants to do. And if it doesn't, then there's an amendment that needs to happen, and that they can range from a minor to a major amendment. So that's how we use it on a daily basis. And then what we're doing now is we're going through the process that's mandated by state statute. So this update has to occur, and part of that update is adopting a public education plan, which the council did, I believe, somewhere in February or so. It's our layout to tell the community how we're going to communicate with you and how we're going to engage with you and how we're going to go through that process. So with that being said, we've put together a TAC committee, a technical advisory committee, that is made up of city staff from water, sewer, streets, engineering, parks and rec. Basically every department and division has someone on this committee that's going to help review plans, review the general plan, review the existing conditions plan. And then we also put together a steering committee of citizens. So we sent out and asked the citizen, the community, to apply. They did, and we received about 30 applications. Staff went through those, narrowed it down to about 11 or 12 applicants, and then we met with the mayor and vice mayor, and that committee was selected. So those committee members, if you've read the paper this morning, it's in the paper, those members of that committee. And we plan to meet with them in the end of June, will be our first kickoff with our steering committee. And then the most exciting thing is that you can all get engaged. There's a website that has been made for the general plan. You can go to the city's website, it'll send you to a link, and you can sign up and you can get updates. So it'll give you updates on, right now we have questionnaire number 1 out. So it started in April and it's still open right now. I'll hit on that a little bit. We're super happy with the communication that we've had there. We've had 758 people fill out the questionnaire. 78% of them are from Lake Havasu City. They have a way, I guess, to track the IP addresses. So 78% of them were actually in Lake Havasu City boundary. The other 22% were spread across 61 cities and 2 countries. So it's kind of interesting there. So, but we do have a table over here with some swag and stuff. And if you'd like to participate in that questionnaire, we would love to get your feedback. It's going to be closing here in probably the next 2 or 3 weeks, because more exciting news is we're going to use that questionnaire and the feedback that we get from it and have a community event. And that community event, we're looking at probably the 1st or 2nd week in July. So we're going to have that at the Aquatic Center. We'll be pushing out things through social media, maybe the paper, our website. And again, if you sign up on the general plan, you'll get notification of the time and the locations of those community events. So yeah, that's where we're at, and it's an 18-month process, and we're looking forward to all your help. We need your help. We need your vision and your support, and we look forward to working with all of you in the community on this project.
Yeah, so the general plan is, everything that's going to happen with the general plan is open to the public. So whether you're on the steering committee or you want to go to the events, we encourage you to come and bring your friends and family to participate. The more that we can hear from folks, the better the future of our community will be. So if you have a passion about shaping the future of Lake Havasu City, get involved. If you've ever wondered, why in the world would they build that building there? Get involved. If you've ever wondered why we don't have a certain something, get involved. And then you'll learn through that process, and you'll be able to help shape the future for the development in the next 10 years and beyond. So really exciting opportunities for citizens to truly get engaged in their community and really shape the future of what our community will look like. But the only reason and the only way it's successful is with community involvement. So please participate as many times as you can, as few times as you can. If surveys are all you can do, fantastic. If you could do surveys and attend in person, great. If you can talk to some of your neighbors and tell them about the events, great. Anything that you can do to be a part of this will make the overall general plan even better than it already would be otherwise. So thank you, Jeff, for you and your team leading this. Is a huge, huge effort. 18 months of community engagement. And, imagine listening to 60,000 different voices that might have the same thread of continuity, but not always, and trying to bring together those ideas for the good of the whole. You have a huge task ahead of you with this effort, but again, our community will be stronger because of it. So we are right in the end of our budget process for Lake Havasu City. So we've been working really, really hard. Jeff, our city manager, and his team, which include obviously Jeff and Gabby and the other department directors, have been working tirelessly to get the budget together. The council's introduction to the budget is at our annual planning session at the end of January. That's where we get our first overview of where we think we're going to end our current year, which ends on June 30th, where we'll start our new year, which begins on July 1st, what milestones have been met, which milestones have not been met, and then the council lays out the priorities for the future of what we would like to see based on what we hear from all of our citizens and what priorities we have based on those. We've then now had 2 budget work sessions as well, one in April and one in May. And we now have for consideration at our council meeting on Tuesday, the tentative budget adoption and the CIP, or our capital improvement plan budget adoption. So that's what will be in front of us at our council meeting on Tuesday. What a tentative budget approval or tentative budget hearing does is it sets the limit. So at that point, if that is to pass by council, we cannot increase spending. That will set the limits. We can decrease spending before our final budget adoption, which will be at our second meeting in June. So that's kind of how the budget process works. The budget, as is presented right now, takes into account a lot of pieces and programs that are important to our community that we've heard from our citizens that they want their investments to go into. So we're able to present a budget right now that is balanced, which is fantastic. Our budgets are always balanced. We have built into it, we've increased over the last year our budget stabilization reserve. So we have 6 months. We increased it by 100%. So we have 6 months of reserves. Some governments call that the rainy day fund. We call it a budget stabilization reserve because we don't spend on rainy days. We make plans at municipal level, but we have that built into the budget. The tax rate currently, the property tax rate is remaining flat. This will be the 6th budget year that it's flat. We still will have to have a truth in taxation hearing. What that means is because the valuations of the property have increased through the assessor's office, we will be taking in more revenue than we did last year. So we have to have a truth in taxation hearing that's letting the citizens and the property owners know that there will be some more revenues coming in from the property tax. But again, the rate remains the same. There's about roughly $300,000 in the assessed value in additional revenues, and then about $400,000 in the change from what was vacant land and now is improved land. So if say there's different tax rates for vacant land versus improved land that will be part of that budget. We also have the ambulance transport program, which has been going really fantastic. I know you heard from Chief Palafis when he joined us for coffee several months ago about that program, but there's investments for that program to continue on. There is a lot of capital items. So second pools had a lot of discussion. That's in the recreation department. We'll talk a little bit about that with Gabby in a second. We also have monies for a splash pad at Rotary, which is pretty exciting. When Bullhead City opened their splash pad, was it last year? I never received so many phone calls from moms wanting to make sure we had a splash pad. So we're working on some grants on that right now, but that will be a really nice addition. That will be in an area that is currently being enhanced by a grant at Rotary Park with sidewalk and parking lot improvements and restroom improvements over at the north end of the park as you enter in towards Rotary Park, enter into the channel area. We also have monies set aside for a citizen survey, so a check-in with our citizens. We do lots of events, and I know many of you engage with your elected city council members throughout the year. You also engage in our meetings, you come to the coffees, you do lots of things, but we want to make sure we also hear from folks that might not have the opportunity to engage in those ways. So the citizen survey will be a check-in to see how we're doing, and are we on the right track, and how can we best serve our citizens, and where do we set the priorities going forward. There's also a parks master plan, which I'm pretty excited about, but I'll let Gabby talk about that. In just a second. We have some opportunities to rehab or refurbish another fire engine, which again, Chief Palafis brought that forward a couple of years ago. Hangars at the airport, some improvements at Main Street Commons. This is formerly known as the Downtown Catalyst Project, but the restrooms and the concession stand that we talked about at last coffee. We also have money set aside for additional investment in roads. You've seen a lot of road improvements over the last several years. We'll continue on that track with real noticeable roads, Acoma, Kiowa, Jamaica, some of the really larger roads that we drive on an everyday basis that are needing pretty severe repairs in addition to our regular maintenance. So really exciting things that are in this budget. Again, no debt financing, able to pay for all of these things in cash because of our careful planning over the last many years, as well as keeping the tax rate flat and being able to present that balanced budget. So really exciting stuff and priorities that are going to come forward. But now let's dig into a couple of the things. Let's talk about the Parks Master Plan, Gabby, and what that means and what that looks like for citizen involvement.
Sure. So similar to the general plan that Jeff's department is taking lead on, a park and recreation system master plan actually looks like at the parks and recreation specifically. So what is the next 10, 15, possibly 20 years going to look like for that department specifically? That could include finding additional land for future parks, future facilities such as an additional recreation center or community center, land for an outdoor pool, things of that nature. The other thing is this gives the community an opportunity to actually speak what it is that they'd like to see out of their Parks and Recreation department. Some of the things that come up, of course, we have the community come out and say, hey, we need, and I'm sure most of you have heard, youth fields, so youth sports fields, or just additional athletic field space. That's a big, hot topic that a lot of our community members are talking about because there's a big need. The population of our youth is growing, and we need to be able to accommodate them. And how do we do that if we don't have the space for a lot of their youth sports? So looking at things of that nature, future equestrian use. This also gives the community an opportunity to come out. We build focus groups, and there's community engagement, and this is an opportunity for the community to come out and really use their voice just as they would for the general plan, but it's just very Parks and Recreation centered. And it really is so important for the community to come out and for this to happen because a lot of our parks, the infrastructure is older. It's definitely, a lot of our parks are in need of TLC. Our playgrounds some of them are over 20 years old. A master plan is going to help us create almost a guide map or a blueprint for what the department will look like, should look like, based off the community's needs and wants.
So the way I look at the Parks Master Plan is in Lake Havasu City, we have, excuse me, really passionate residents that live here, and they come up with projects. And so most of our park assets have been passion projects of different civic organizations, different parent groups, different organized sports groups, and we are able to move forward through that. But on passion projects like that, we have the user groups that are engaged in that process. They start engaging with the municipal government, and by the time we're able to respond, their children may have aged out of the system. And so now they were advocating for maybe a ball field that now it took 2 or 3 years through planning and those types of things to get, and now their child's no longer a T-baller, and now their child is a baseball player or a softball player. And so with a Parks Master Plan, we can anticipate the needs based on population benchmarks so that we can carefully plan so that all of our citizens, whether they're our little kiddos all the way up to our senior users, that they have access to the things that they need. And so at the times that they need them. So, when we get to a certain area, do we hit this benchmark and we're like, we probably should have an additional field? Or now with the takeover of e-bikes throughout our community, what type of infrastructure does that take? And how could we plan for that to make sure that pedestrian or recreational paths can have that balance between new technologies, so the e-bikes, and old technologies are several legs, so how do we balance those two things out? So, and that's what some of these things can do through this Parks Master Plan. And
100%.
Yeah, and thank you so much for bringing that vision to us, because we've always just done it from a passion perspective, which works too, but this, we can keep the passion, keep the energy alive the way we've always done it, and then be guided by the results of what this may be.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to note, though, too, is a lot of the individual parks had some sort of future vision. So there was some sort of plan in place, but there wasn't a system-wide master plan. So with us doing this, I think it's going to be a really great opportunity, and then it gives the community buy-in. We already know that the community, you all love your parks. We love recreation. It's a part of life. A lot of people move here because of the recreation, and now it just gives you an alternate reason to be happy and be proud of where you live, is because you've invested in your community in a different way.
So it's a pretty exciting opportunity. Please, if you are interested in this, stay tuned and get involved in through this process. Also in the budget, on year 5 of our CIP budget, our capital improvement budget, we have programmed in some money for whatever the results of this are. So should the results say we need something, or we should do something, or something, we have money there for us to do something with. So again, it's 5 years out, but at least it's on the radar for us to be able to address. So the worst thing is that we would put together a plan and citizens say, hey, this is what we need and this is how we would need it, and then we're like, oh yeah, that's great, but we didn't put any foresight into having something set aside. So we do have some set aside there to determine as a placeholder for now, but into the future that we can actually do something that would help bring the master plan together. So pretty exciting stuff. Throughout all of Lake Havasu City, we really are trying to ensure that we are meeting the needs of our citizens and we offer streamlined services. So how can we best serve our citizens and those that need to engage with us? And how can we do it in the most efficient way and meet our citizens where they're at? Which many of our citizens are on the go and they're moving quick, and they either can just jump on their cell phone real quick to engage with us with a telephone call, or getting onto our website, or they might only have some time after hours when we might not be there. And so we've implemented a lot of technology solutions over the past several years to help with this effort. We've done some public safety stuff. So the chiefs talked about this during coffee several months ago with the way that we do dispatching now, so we can respond to calls in a quicker manner, in a more efficient manner. So all the way from public safety, all the way down to how do you get a business license? So how do we make sure that's all efficient? And Jeff, your team this last year has implemented MaintStar software technology, which incorporates a lot of different departments and divisions. You want to talk about what that technology is doing for our citizens and the users that engage with the city?
Sure. So MaintStar is an electronic submittal, basically, is what it is. And you can submit for a new business license, a renewal. You can get an animal license. You can get a short-term rental permit. You can submit for building permits, fire permits, and you can place code enforcement complaints on it as well. So I want to say, actually 1 year to the day, I think we started implementing it. We went live with the system about a year ago. I'm happy to say today we're about 95% implemented with that system. About 60% of it you can do electronically now. So what it is it has a citizen portal. You go on, you create an account. You can go on there, like I said, and you can submit for a business license, renew that license, submit for a building permit. So in order to streamline these processes, as the mayor mentioned, it could be midnight and you're ready to submit for your retaining wall permit or your pool permit. You can go on there and you can submit. Staff will get it. We'll do it electronically. You'll get email notifications of where it's at in the process. Hey, it's approved. It's ready for fees. You log on. You pay for your fees. As soon as you pay for your fees, you have your building permit. Your approved plans are all right there. You can go. You can log on. You can schedule your inspections from your phone, your computer, from your television. You're watching a movie. Oh, I need an inspection tomorrow, and then you get real-time feedback. So the inspector's there. He does his inspection. You'll get a notification. Inspection's passed, disapproved because of these reasons. So it's real live time feedback. So yeah, that's been a huge. We've been implementing it for about 2 years now, or 2.5 years. So we're this close to being fully implemented, and eventually, what we're hoping for is that we can eliminate the paper, right? So talk about recycling and all these things. We have bundles and bundles of paper and plans, and so the idea is to eliminate that, streamline the process, and the communication, just make the communication that much more efficient. So.
The program also takes into account short-term rentals, which short-term rentals were also a new thing. So how do we keep the pace as technologies change? We manage all the short-term rentals there. If you, just as a reminder, if you go to our website, you can just type in the bar up in the top right-hand area, short-term rentals. It'll come right to the code section that will show a map of short-term rentals, the 24-hour contact, who you can contact if you're having issues with it, what you need to do to register your short-term rental, all of the things that are short-term rental related. Mainstar helps manage that, as well as our special events. So, you may go to a farmer's market or to a craft fair or to Desert Storm and enjoy your time, which we encourage you to do. But there's a lot of work that goes behind that to make sure we have proper trash cans, proper bathrooms, that we have proper safety protocols in place to ensure that those that are interested or that are attending those types of events are safe. And so Mainstar will also help manage our special event process as well. So lots of different areas that Mainstar kind of crosses over with different tentacles throughout the entire organization to help manage a lot of these things. So yeah, thank you for your efforts on that, Jeff. That was anytime you implement technology they say it's going to go like this, and it goes like this. And so, yeah, thank you for doing that. Talking about technology, one of the most anxious ridden days for any parent in Lake Havasu City is the day that summer camps go online and you need to get your kids enrolled. And it's one of the biggest reasons over the last couple of years is our partnership with the school district. We use the school sites. But voters in Lake Havasu City voted in a bond for our schools several years ago that included a lot of capital improvement projects. So carpeting, paint, air conditioning, those types of things. And because of those activities happening when kids are not in school, it didn't allow us for a site to run our programming. So we had to limit our number of sites while they were doing construction projects. And we were having some staffing challenges. We've solved all of those things. So the project, we have sites now, we have staff, and we have a really bad software technology that makes it miserable for people to sign up until now. In our new budget, we have a new program. So if you want to talk a little bit about that, Gabby.
Yeah, so I guess I should really kind of paint the picture for you. So it's Friday. Everybody is anxious. It's 7 o'clock in the morning at the Aquatic Center, and we've got parents lined up outside the door. All down the hallway, outside. Everybody's very anxious. They're stressed. They're trying to get their paperwork filled out in time. And then we've got the parents who are able to navigate the online system. They're ready for 8 o'clock to hit so they can start going ahead and registering their kids. It's very chaotic. It's very stressful. As we all know, we have a limited access for childcare in this city. So it's really important to be able to have that opportunity to enroll your child. Well, if you're frantic, you're stressed, you don't think your child's going to be able to get signed up, you're thinking, well, what am I going to do for work? Well, what we've looked at, even with our after-school program, looking at how our software currently works, it's not conducive, it's not very customer-friendly on your end, it's not very user-friendly on our end, on the back. So one of the things I wanted to implement, since we had the opportunity to go ahead and add it into a budget, is a recreation, registration, and reservation software. So not only would this streamline the process for our registration for programs, and not just summer camps and after-school cares, but any other special interest class that we put on, any special event that we're charging for, all that would be streamlined. The potential softwares we're looking at, we've already created our list, our wish list, and things that we're looking for. And then on top of that as well too, our reservation system. So the way that we can rent out rooms in our facility, the way that we rent out ramadas, different things, how we help out with our special events. Our community engagement officer, she works very closely with us too when it comes to those big community events like Desert Storm and having to shut down parks and rent ramadas and parks and all that. So this registration software is going to make it so much easier. It's going to take the stress and the burden off a lot of our parents who wouldn't consider themselves technically savvy, but it also is then going to still, because of course we'll still have the parents and the grandparents and the guardians who come in and want to register their kids in person, and we welcome that. We actually love that because then we can actually put a face to the people who are registering their kids, but that process is going to go so much smoother. I will say this year was my first time seeing a Lake Havasu City summer registration, and I was probably more scared from all the feedback I got from staff. It was going to be a stampede, we were going to get run over, people were going to be crazy, and we had developed a system that worked so seamlessly. We were able to keep parents at ease. We kept it as organized as possible. It was all hands on deck. All of our cashiers were behind the registers because we can only take 2 to 3 registrations at a time. We had parents lined up by number. We had some of our aquatic staff helping out with parents who were just getting in, so they were able to fill out their paperwork. I'm running back and forth calling out numbers. Our recreation superintendent is in the back helping out with scholarships. So I do want to say, as chaotic as summer camp registration can be and as stressful it can be, we have a great team who is working seamlessly to make sure that the opportunities that we're offering to the community are just a little less painful.
It's fantastic. Yeah, thank you for that. And it's my understanding last time you and I spoke that we actually still have some slots available if children need a place.
We actually do. So that was a good point that you brought up, Mayor. So we have a great relationship with the schools, and we're super thankful for those locations because we're able to offer the facility space to be able to offer summer camp. Last year, unfortunately, like the mayor had said, because of all of the construction and the maintenance needs that the schools had to do, and the only time for them to do it was during summer. So we were limited to 2 sites. Well, this year, we were lucky enough to be able to get 3 sites. So we were able to get Oro Grande, Havasu Pie, and Smoke Tree. And one of the things that the staff were really passionate about is they wanted to bring back Camp I Wanna Go, which is for our older kids, so our 5th, 6th, and 7th graders. So by us doing that, taking the 5th, 6th, and 7th graders off of the other 2 sites, it opened up so much more space for our 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th graders. So for Camp I Wanna Go, which is at Smoke Tree, we have about 20 spots available. And then for both Havasu Pie and for Oro Grande, we have about 40 slots available. So we were able to bump it up. We can take a total number of 200 participants at each of our sunshine camps, which are the smaller guys, which is Oro Grande and Havasu Pie. And then for Camp I Wanna Go, we're capping it at 100. So it's been a really great opportunity. That's 500 kids in the community that we can help families with childcare. And we have great staff. We went through really in-depth training this year. We brought out people from different professions, utilizing the SPARK program, which is sports, play, and active recreation for kids. So we brought them out to kind of get the staff ready and introduce them to a new curriculum that we'll be implementing to our after-school programs as well. But we're just really excited, and there is plenty of space, and the opportunities are endless, and you're going to see a lot of changes come out, specifically with our recreational programs. But we're just really excited for all of these great changes and the team that we have.
Recently, this spring, we were able to work with the school district. We've worked with them for many, many years, but we were able to enhance our intergovernmental agreement. The school board approved it, and then the city council approved it, where we can expand fields. So we're now able to use some of the schools for neighborhood park-like experiences for additional field usage. You want to talk a little bit about that program, Gabby?
Yeah, I'd love to. So currently our recreation superintendent is trying to get our field allocation program in order. And basically what field allocation is just the process of all of these different sports organizations, youth leagues, they all want to reserve the same fields on the same time at the same day. Well, we really can't have a soccer program, a baseball program going on at the same time. It doesn't work that way. So they'll come in and they have to reserve space. And then it's our responsibility to make sure that we're allocating field space equitably and fair. So what we're currently working on is we've already worked a lot of those school sites into our system. The biggest downfall in a lot of some of the unfortunate parts about the school sites is there's no lights. So a lot of the sports leagues are still a little apprehensive about using some of that space. But during the summer, we're trying to make sure then that when we roll into the fall, when it's a little bit cooler and the need for the space it's vital. And it was so amazing for the school board and for us to be able to work together to get that additional space. We will be rolling out a lot of these leagues onto more of those open space areas. Oro Grande is the only school that actually has a ball diamond. And we have a lot more baseball, softball leagues than we do a soccer league. There's only one soccer league, but there's multiple softball and baseball leagues. So we're just trying to make sure that we're doing things the appropriate way, making sure that we're treating every organization fairly. This is for the kids, and the youth leagues do a great job for the Parks Department. They take a whole burden off us because now we don't have to offer any youth sports. So they are a partnership in that way, but we want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence and make sure that we're taking care of the kids in the community.
Speaking of field lighting, in this budget, we also have field lighting addressed. So we have some blind spots at Rotary and also out at Sarah Park. So the fields we do have they're not adequate with the lighting. So you want to talk about the lighting technology that we'll be talking about this year too?
Yeah, I'd love to. So we were fortunate enough, I had a resident, Tim Murray, come to me and express the need for better lighting at Rotary Park. It's very dangerous. It's kind of dark and dull. And when you've got kids throwing baseballs out there or hitting balls out into the air, we need to make sure that those kids can see the ball adequately, or we're going to have some not so great incidences happen. So with that, we looked at how can we best utilize city resources to make sure we can create a safer environment for our participants. So we put in the budget $350,000 for Rotary Park and $350,000 for Sarah Park to update lighting. And we're really looking at LED light bulbs. Guy, our park maintenance superintendent, phenomenal, fantastic. If there is something that he can't do, I don't know what it is yet. I'm still figuring that out. I'm testing him every day. But he has actually done the due diligence to reach out to a couple different lighting companies to see what that cost would be, and actually has already started working with Unisource, and there is potential rebates. So a lot of really cool things that are happening, and we're really excited. And as soon as June 1st hits, if the budget is approved, we'll be shopping around for some better lighting.
Yeah, so the lighting technology has changed tremendously. If you look at the lighting that we have currently at Rotary or Sarah Park, and you can see it from all over town if you have a view corridor to that. And then you look at over on Cypress Park. When we built that park in 2016, the light pollution from the fields is minimal to the neighborhoods around there. So you actually can see Daytona or ASU's campus. You can see that field, and you see Cypress. You can see them both from the spot. You can see the lights on the field at the ASU. You cannot see the ones down at Cypress because of the technology, and that was 2016 technology. So who knows 10 years later what Guy and your team is going to be able to find. So fantastic on there. So a couple of the other things that this reservation system are going to do, if you haven't really engaged with recreation in a while, Gabby and her team have done such a fantastic job with programming. So not only do you have the parks that you're able to use, the facilities that you're able to use, but there's actually programming that's pretty exciting. So the Sunshine Camps, which Gabby talked about, those are the youth camps for the summer. We have Camp I Wanna Go camp came back. We have adventure camps for children that include archery, kayaking, snorkeling, fishing, like really kind of exciting things for kids to engage with the natural outdoor area that and recreational opportunities we have. Pottery and crochet classes, youth golf intro, which is fantastic. The Kiwanis Craft Series, Summer Craft Series, our junior lifeguard program, open swims that we're managing. So a lot of these different things that we're managing people and programs, we need some software to do that. So this reservation system will help with all of those as well. So I encourage you to get involved with recreation if you want to check out one of the great programs that you're doing. Thank you for broadening that horizon for our citizens and bringing those programs to our community. Let's talk a little bit about the waterfront rezone. It's a little premature, but because we have you during this coffee, and we won't during that process, we can talk about that, and then we will go ahead and open up for questions on anything we covered or anything else that might be on your mind. But the waterfront rezone is the area on the island that was formerly the golf course. That was purchased a year or two ago from an Arizona State Trust land auction. Most of the waterfront property surrounding Lake Havasu City is Arizona State Trust land, and they have just one goal in mind, and that's the best use of the property. Best use of the property to them means something different to us that live here. We have a much different definition, but theirs is all about money. So when Arizona became a state in 1912, our Constitution, and through statehood, we had trust land set aside for 12 beneficiaries. Primarily, the largest beneficiary is the K-12 education system across the state of Arizona. So their goal is to get the highest value of that property, whether that's through a lease, where they're leasing it to some use, or through a sale. This particular one was through a sale, and we now have what is currently in our general plan and our zoning as golf course property, and we now have a new owner that has intentions to do something different, and that's where Jeff and his team come in. So you want to talk about that a little bit, Jeff?
Sure. Yeah, thank you. So the property is approximately 90 acres. And when we were talking about the general plan update earlier, I mentioned that a general plan can be amended. So as the mayor mentioned, it's the general plan calls for open space and parks, basically. And so when the waterfront developer came to us and said they wanted to do these things with the property, we pulled out the general plan and said, okay, here's a general plan. It needs to be amended. I mentioned a minor or a major. Well, what determines that is the amount of acres. So if it's 5 acres or more, it requires a major general plan amendment. And so this is 90 acres, so they have to go through the major general plan amendment process, which means that they have to go through a 60-day review period by numerous agencies, and this is all regulated by state statute. So they go through, they submit to the city, which they have submitted to the city. We do our first initial review. We send it out for a 60-day review to numerous agencies. It comes back, then it gets vetted by the Planning and Zoning Commission. It gets introduced to them. Then we come back again to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and we introduce it to them again, and then they would do a recommendation to council, and then council would ultimately either approve or not approve that general plan amendment. So that's where we're kind of at, is the waterfront development has submitted to the city. We've had it for about 3 weeks. We're getting ready to send it out for that 60-day review. And then at the same time, they have to rezone the property. So right now it's zoned golf course. And so what they're planning to do is they want to come in, and we have a zoning category called Island Body Beach. So what they do is they look at Island Body Beach and they say, okay, what do we want to do? What is this Island Body Beach rezone zoning category? What does that allow for? So then they tailor, it's called a planned development, because they want to add certain things to that zoning district. So they've submitted for that, and their plan is to, we'll work from the water, Thompson Bay area, all the way back up to McCulloch Boulevard, McCulloch and Beachcomber. So down by the water, they're looking at doing a resort-style hotel with some bungalows, and then as you work your way up, they're going to do some luxury lots, residential estate lots, and then you work into some townhomes, multifamily, and then retail, grocery, and gas station type uses. So there's a bunch of open space also planned for the development. So that's kind of where we're at right now, is we've got the first initial submittal. It's going out for the general plan major amendment review, and then we are looking to have that first hearing with the Planning and Zoning commission probably in September sometime. So with that major amendment, it takes some time, but just be on the lookout for that, for the agendas, and get involved, because that's what we ultimately are, is transparent. We want to hear from the community, and ultimately planning and zoning and council will make that decision.
I think there was an article in the paper in this last week or so about this project. So in addition to our code, we are, if anyone wants to do a rezone effort, they're required to notify property owners within a 300-foot radius of the property and have a neighborhood meeting. In this case, this developer actually decided, let's have a community-wide meeting. And so they opened it up to the entire community and had 2 different sessions in March at the Nautical Beachfront Resort in their conference center. And they had different posters and pictures, and they had representatives there talking with citizens and interested parties about their development. And something was interesting. I went to both of them, but I was literally there for maybe 20 to 30 minutes. So it's just a small point in time of 2 different experiences that I had. But as they were engaging with citizens, they were taking feedback. They actually were making real-time changes to their plans based on what citizens were saying. I thought that was pretty amazing. Oftentimes, we also see folks come and they want to maximize the use of the property. So they want to make sure that it's the most building space or the most square footage or whatever it is that's going to make their project work. This one, they were saying, no, we need more parking. So we want to have more parking available for people that are going to come to the facility. And there also is going to be a public launch ramp. And they were really sensitive to make sure that there was parking for that area. Again, that's just my interpretation of 2 half-hour experiences I had during a long, I think they were 4 or 5 hour sessions that they were doing this open house. So that is the process. But since Jeff was here, I thought we would at least go through it and so you'd understand, like, okay, now we talk about this general plan, and then we talk about the zoning, and then we wonder how this happens. So, I mean, this is like where it comes from, the vision of the property owner, and then how Jeff's team helps facilitate that and facilitate community input, because ultimately that's what we do, is we make sure it's in compliance with the code and that it's in the best interest of the community. So while balancing private property rights, because people do have property rights as well. So with that, we'll go ahead and start doing questions. But before we do that, I want to introduce Councilmember David Diaz is joining us. Councilmember, thank you so much for being here. Also, Councilmember Nancy Campbell. Thank you so much, Councilmember Campbell, for being here. And then Supervisor Burley has been in and out, so it seems like he might be out right now, but thank you, Supervisor, for being here as well. Councilmember Diaz will go around and with the microphone, and you want to stand? Do you want to sit? Either way, it doesn't matter to me. All right, we're going to stand for questions. So yeah, if you have a question, just raise your hand, and we'll answer questions about anything that's on your mind, anything we covered or anything else. And
while I'm going over there, can you just explain how that land was sold on the island? It was an auction.
Yeah, so
you mentioned it was sold, but it was an auction.
Yeah, so any of the state land items or properties are generally petitioned by the person that might be interested. So there might be a swath of state land that somebody says, hey, I have an interest in that. They make an application to the state land department. There's very strict requirements. They have to post it for 12 weeks. So it has to be posted and announced, and then it literally goes to an auction, like on the courthouse steps up in Kingman, and they have paddles, and they're like, I bid this, and at the end of the auction, the winner is the winner, but you have to be a qualified bidder before you go there, so you can't just go up there, with $100 in your pocket. You have to actually qualify, show you have the resources to bid to a certain level, and then, just because you're the one that started the process, you're not the one that might win the process. So that's interesting. So the one that actually started the island, the owner of the island property right now, was not the one who started that process. But there was another land auction that happened about 6 weeks ago or so over by the mall, which happens to be in the county. We talked about this during our last coffee. That's county land, but it's you would think it was in Lake Havasu City because of where it's located. But the original person who bid it is actually the one that won it as well. So sometimes it happens that way. Other times it doesn't. But yeah, that's the process. Yes, thank you, Councilmember. Yes,
Jeff. I appreciate the education that you talked about with code enforcement, but I sense they're talking to a lot of slow learners. I don't see progress in some of those areas. Is there an opportunity for more enforcement capabilities with code enforcement, just to make sure that those people do what they suggest?
Yeah, I'll take the beginning part, and then I'll let Jeff answer some details. So code enforcement in Lake Havasu City is reactive, and that's set by policy through the council. And so the council is the one that adopts code. In December of a year and a half ago, so about a year and a half ago, the council did strengthen our code enforcement. And so we took an issue at the biggest number of complaints that we get, and how can we address those? And so what we did is there's an area of 300 square feet or so that's allowed in the backyard of a property for car enthusiasts or boat enthusiasts to renovate or refurbish a classic car if that's what they wanted to do. We also strengthened the code. Before it was the vehicle had to be registered. We added it also had to be insured. Because some of those older cars, it's pretty inexpensive to register those cars. You could spend $15 a year on an older car, and why not do that so you can have what we may interpret as junk cars, they may interpret as something very valuable to them. And so now if you also have to pay for insurance on it, that's one additional level. We added some additional coverings of how things had to be covered. And so we took, again, the biggest complaints that we did, or that we receive, and we strengthened the code that way. And one of the biggest public engagement meetings I've ever participated in as an elected official was when we were doing the general plan in 2016. And there was some discussion from the TAC at that time, the Technical Advisory Committee, that we should not allow parking in the front yards. And did our citizens not agree with that? And they made it known. And so I equate it to a dial. So we turn up the dial based on the feedback that we get. And so right now the pendulum is swinging towards more code enforcement. And so we're strengthening the code for that. But we are not proactive code enforcement at all. So if Jeff or someone else on the city team is driving into work and they see a violation, it's a violation. If it bothers them enough, they can file a complaint just like any other citizen can file a complaint, and then we will go through that process. But property owners do have the ability to have a process to adjudicate whatever complaint there is. And so sometimes it takes time. And so that's the policy side. So Jeff's team can only do what the policymakers allow them to do by code. But if you want to talk a little bit more about the timing and how we would go through a case complaint.
Yeah, for sure. The policy, right? The city code. So we have voluntary correction timeframes, right? And then we have to give them 30 days, and then then they can ask for an extension, and then another extension. And so, and so the code lays out the process, and it's a very lengthy process. And then you have to remember, some of these things take money to fix, right? And so there's that aspect too. So I understand that sometimes these can be tricky. We have a very good code enforcement team. Republic Services is a great team member because of the bulk pickup. Our code enforcement have them on speed dial. Like, hey, we can get rid of these things. Put them down at the street. We'll schedule with Republic Service to come get that stuff. So all I can say is just bear with us. We do have a process to follow, and ultimately we will get compliance. But the education piece, we do find that 75% about of our cases are just people don't know, right? They don't know. And so the education is huge, and we usually get correction right away. Now, if there's a life safety issue involved, like an illegal structure was built and people are living in it, things like that, then the code allows us to go after that in a more aggressive manner.
One example of Jeff's team working on a code enforcement issue that lots of citizens would complain about was the parking lot behind the Red Onion. And so they worked on that for a long time. And that was in disrepair. Ed's Deli is where you park back there, Red Onion. There's a lot of areas that you go. You drive by now, though, and the parking lot's beautiful. But it took the property owner and a lot of money to do that. And so it was through planning and through code enforcement that Jeff and his team were able to say, property owner, there's a violation. We know it's multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix. How can we make this happen? And I believe it ended up being a phased approach, or at least what I saw. So,
correct.
Yeah. Yes. And then your comment today is we're listening. And so as more people talk about the need for stronger code enforcement or lesser code enforcement, whatever it may be, we have 3 policymakers here listening. Thank you.
I could add one thing too, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
You could walk into the city hall and go to the counter. You could call them, but the best way to do it, and Nancy Campbell actually taught me this, there's an app called Havasu Now. You just download that app and you can log in your your concern or your complaint, and it gets logged into the system, and you could check it on real time where they're at in the process that Jeff just mentioned. So it's really cool. It's Havasu Now. It's a free app.
Thank you. Question for both Jeff and Gabby. Jeff, the resort was mentioned. That was a golf course. Now it's going to become a resort. I've heard the term public access, and I believe the public is a misunderstanding what public access means. It doesn't give people the right to use the beach. It gives the resort the ability to dictate who can use the beach. No different than, let's say, Disneyland. Disneyland is public access, but you have to pay admission, you have to meet their dress code, you have to meet their hours. So there's a little bit of a misunderstanding there. You want to answer that, then I'll ask Gabby?
Sure. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
So Island Body Beach zoning district requires that there's a 20-foot wide public pedestrian easement for beach access. So through this process, there'll be many public hearings, and this could change, but we're going to require that a 20-foot public pedestrian easement be granted to the city so that very thing can't happen and the public can have access to those beach areas. So we do an example of this is in front of the Heat Hotel right now. You know, the Heat Hotel, the seawall and all that, that's a 20-foot pedestrian easement. So it would be treated just very similar to that situation.
Okay, thank you very much. Gabby, I've been to a number of meetings, and the new pool keeps becoming addressed. And I'm not hearing any comments from Parks and Rec concerning the new pool. Most of the remarks are being spearheaded by a swim team that I give them all the credit in the world. They've done a good job of pushing this thing forward. But I keep getting the feeling that this new pool is going to be their pool. And it's going to be the community's pool. It's something that the community should be able to use. And what I don't hear from Parks and Rec is you are going to have to budget additional labor, lifeguards. It's going to be separately, it's going to be outside of the building. So you're going to have a whole bunch of labor, you're going to have a bunch of maintenance, and I hope you're addressing that with the city in the future so we don't get blindsided. And the sad thing what I'm hearing about this pool is the school district seems to have no interest in it. And to me, I hope they don't come in at the tail end and hope it's partly theirs. They need to pay full boat if they're not going to be part of the construction of it.
Thank you for your comment. And of course, for Parks and Recreation, an additional pool would be an asset for the community. Does it benefit our partners like the Stingray and the high school who has a swim team? 100%. But at the end of it, as far as for our community, we're lacking space for swim lessons, for exercise classes, for open lap swim. So though it seems like the Stingrays are definitely pushing it, and of course they are, because it's an exciting amenity for the city, of course, but ultimately, it's an amenity for the community, which we take precedence of. It's not going to be for the Stingrays. It's not going to be for the high school. As far as the operations to operate that pool, that is something we definitely have looked into. We've already kind of estimated numbers. We've brought that to council. We've brought it up in our park advisory board meeting just to say, hey, with this pool, like you said, there is going to be a need for additional lifeguards. We have currently 5 CPOs, which are certified pool operators. By law, we need to have a certified pool operator at our facility as the pool is being utilized. If there's an accident, something happens with bodily fluids, like we need to shut down the pool, redo the chemicals, a lot of it goes into it. Even the way that we put chemicals into the pool, the filtration system, the electricity. So those are things that we have talked about and we have taken them into account. It's even simple things like the ropes to divide the lanes. The accessibility for people with disabilities who aren't able to access the pool, putting up those additional motorized seats. So those are things we definitely have looked at, but that is a great concern, and I'm glad you brought that up so we can address it here. Any pool that'll be built on city property for the Parks and Recreation Department will be a city amenity, and it will take precedence that way, and it is for the community.
Yeah, the
The second pool actually started here at this coffee several years ago. So it's the Stingrays that folks think started, but it was actually two moms. So anytime you want something done, get the moms involved. They came here and they started the process, and they started having the conversation. They started engaging with council. It's actually the second pool is in the CIP that was approved last year in the CIP budget. So I mean, it's not a new thing. It just had a lot of media attention this spring. But it if it was going to be built just for Stingrays or just for competitive swim, it would not be built the way it's being built right now. So it's not a competitive pool. It would be a longer pool if that was the case, and it would be able to be used from both directions. But this is a multi-use pool that will help alleviate some of the pain. I think, was it Fast Facts at the end of coffee last month or the month before? 65,000 users use our current swim facilities last year. 65,000 users. So,
And imagine how many more we'd get with additional water space.
yeah, exactly. And so what is it? I think the lap swim is like 5:30 in the morning for.
Yeah, so, and we try to squeeze it in, so sometimes it'll be at 5:30 in the morning, sometimes it'll be a midday open lap swim if we don't have exercise classes, or kinder swim, or summer swim, or open swim. So, and that's really the big thing, is people are looking for just that different recreational activity. It's good for your fitness, it's good for health. It's, some people just like to be able to get in the pool and swim, and we really can't offer that. So an additional pool, it's gonna be a huge game changer for the city.
Thank you for the question.
Bonnie, way in the back.
The folks at home, I won't be able to hear you. So.
This is kind of, this is definitely a question that doesn't apply to anything that was discussed today, and it's more for the county, but when did the medical examiner office move from Lake Havasu to Fort Mojave?
Great question. So the medical examiner is a county function, not a city function. But it's my understanding that the Board of Supervisors, who is in charge of that contract, offered a contract to a company maybe 3 years ago. It could have been 2 years ago. And they're the ones that are now facilitating it. I don't know that there isn't a medical examiner's office here still in town.
There's not. They moved to Fort Mojave.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know that for sure. They used to be over on Empire over in that area. But yeah, so the county would have to answer that question for you. Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Sorry, yes.
Regarding the road maintenance, I've noticed a lot of the streets that have been repaved or just kind of like a Band-Aid put on the street. None of the holes are really fixed. So are you doing anything about that?
For sure. So we're doing so much about all of that. So when it comes to road maintenance, we have mill and fill projects, which those are taking out the old road and putting in a new road. This year, we did last year as well, but we applied HA5, which is Holbrook Asphalt number 5. It's a formula that is proprietary to them. That's where the roads look like they've almost been painted black. That's the HA5 application. There's then some chip seal applications that are in some of the road areas. This year we used an aggregate that's a little bit thicker. The area that you can see it, that I drive more regularly, would be on Smoke Tree Avenue from Mesquite to Acoma. That area was applied with that larger aggregate chip seal. We did the regular chip seal, and then we've done some fog seal. So we've done lots of different things. We also, in the contract, we have all of those things happen, and then we stripe it ourselves. So we have one striping machine, and so sometimes people are like, oh, the roads aren't striped, and it's taking a long time. It's because our one machine was doing it, but it saved money for us to be able to do it that way. So if there's any potholes, or there's any, especially areas where road areas are meeting, like what was existing to new, something like that, let us know. So we'll get out there and address those. So, and we have additional investments coming in this new fiscal year as well that will further our road program. So we've really been doing some really fantastic stuff on roads. So if you notice a road or an area that we were working in, or our contractors were working in, that is not up to par, let us know and we'll have it addressed immediately. So you can let us know by right now, after the meeting, come see us, or go on our website and fill out a form there too, or call. Yeah. Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
So many comments. My question is for code enforcement. Is on the website, is there a place for us to go as a business owner when there are other people in your same field practicing without a business license in that same field, or a required license for what they're offering? Is that on the website? Is that a place that we can go to report that? whether or not there's enough enforcement for my industry, which is massage, and lots of questions about that industry. But there are businesses in town and people that are practicing and offering that are not licensed by the state. So I'm curious, I hate being that tattletale, but it's a little frustrating. Is that on the website? Is that part of what we can and cannot do?
Yeah, so if someone's operating without a business license, that is a violation of code. So that would be just like a normal code violation, like a piece of garbage in someone's yard. They don't have a business license. When it comes to a particular industry that has a requirement by the state of Arizona, that's not addressed to us, but you can, in your case, the massage board, you absolutely let them know that there's an unlicensed practitioner. I had another resident in the same industry mention it to me as well, and it seems very difficult to get the massage board to reply. I tried to assist him as well, but we will apply. If there's there's a business operating without a business license, please let us know. And if you just get the microphone, Councilmember Diaz, for a follow-up question. Yes.
So when someone applies for a business license, do you guys check to find out if what they're applying for requires outside licensure? I know when I applied for mine and they came and checked my space and the fire department, all that stuff. And I'm not gonna lie, I can't really remember if I submitted those particular paperwork, but is that on there? Like, do you guys check to make sure that what they're doing and the business follow up as far as requirements to offer that services to get a business license and have to?
Yeah, so we're looking at, is it a lawful business? Is the practice, is it in the correctly zoned area? Does it have the right life and safety, fire extinguishers, exits, ingress, egress, parking, all of those. We would not go to the extent of saying, does it require a massage license and check the board? Or if it's a physician, do they have a license? We don't do that. It's more life and safety on our end. And then the regulatory body that's to regulate that industry would be the responsible party for those components. Yeah. Ms. Toy?
Good morning again. First, I just want to say that I am very grateful you guys are building a second pool, because whether people believe it or not, I completely believe our community needs that second pool and the lap pool and more people to open it and keep it running longer hours. Second, the general plan, the resort with Mr. Berry, I got to meet him and talk to him a little bit. That was very interesting to hear him discuss the building of the resort, and including the fact that he will be allowed to charge for parking, but keep the pedestrian. You can walk into the resort and use the lake for free as long as you walk into it. But if you decide to drive into it, then you get to pay for parking. I thought that was kind of interesting since it was business. But my question is, with the general plan, in regards to issues like the resort having to change from golf course to island body beach, multi-use, whatever, is there a way for the update of the general plan to adjust a lot of that so businesses don't have to keep asking for these amendments?
Absolutely, that's exactly why we do it. So yeah, we take a look, what our current general plan is now 10 years old. And so that was the vision of 10 years ago of citizens and the makeup of the community there. Now we have different thoughts, and we have e-bikes, and we have things that we didn't have then. And so that we will absolutely take into account, and when I say we, that's a collective as the community. This is the community's general plan. And so yes, all of those, and that's actually the reason why you do general plan updates. So, all right, with that, our time is, I'm sorry. This will be our last question.
Gabby, this is for you. Tell me about your toys you have in your office.
How do you know? Okay, so in typical Parks and Rec fashion, every place, no matter an office or not, should be fun. So then you would know as you walk through Lynn's office cubby area, she's got all the goodies, all the candy, all the snacks. Well, in my office, I got sandboxes and dinosaurs everywhere. So if you've got a child and you're coming in, we'll keep them busy and we can talk business. But yes, thank you.
Yeah, spoken from a true Parks and Rec director, right?
Yes, 100%.
Yes. Well, thank you all for engaging with us today. A big thank you to my special guests, Jeff Tuneman and Gabby Vera.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Also to Republic Services. As we like to always end with some fun facts, we're going to do Development Services fun facts. So last year, they issued 166 new single-family home permits. So 166 new single-family home. They conducted 10,769 building inspections. So 10,700 building inspections. Performed 4,626 plan reviews. They administered 267 planning cases, and code enforcement received 1,164 complaints that were able to close 775 complaints. So some of them take a little bit of time, but that is a little about Development Services. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be dark the next couple of months for the summer, but that doesn't mean that we're not working. So just give us a call or reach out to us via email, and we'd be more than happy to take any of your questions or answer anything that may be going on. We wish you a very great summer, and we'll see you back soon. Thank you.